People are always asking me if I know Tyler Durden.
Fight Club is David Fincher's fourth film released in 1999, starring Edward Norton, Brad Pitt, and Helena Bonham Carter. The idea was born from Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote the book just 3 years before its film adaptation. Although the film was not a box office success, over the years it has become an undisputed cult film. In the first days of its premiere, it caused a commotion and was classified as a dangerous film, a similar reaction that occurred with Clockwork Orange in the 1970s. Fight Club is now an indisputable classic that brought one of the most emblematic characters in cinema, Tyler Durden, whose charisma and philosophy have also made him an icon of popular culture. Of course, it is almost impossible to talk about Tyler Durden without talking about the protagonist, or also called the narrator, whose name is never mentioned, so we will call him Jack, the name that appears in the script of the film. A spoiler alert is appropriate because today we will analyze in depth this complex character. Let's start from the fact that Tyler Durden is Jack's radical and destructive alter ego, a product of his imagination that came to make a radical change in his life. We will find out the how and the why, but it is important to clarify that it is inevitable to just talk about Tyler and leave Jack aside, since they are the same person, but they are not the same personality, nor do they have the same thoughts. If we talk about Tyler Durden's thoughts and personality, the philosophy of nihilism perfectly explains his way of seeing the world and his way of acting. As Ivan Turgenev well said, the first to use this term, nihilist is the person who does not bow to any authority, who does not accept any principle as an article of faith. Obviously, Tyler rejects the values and purposes that capitalist society gives us. He does not believe that the state, companies or organizations of any kind are capable of achieving absolute truth. He refuses to submit his life to any entity. On the contrary, he is an independent person, intellectually free. The fact that Tyler does what he wants at his own will can lead us wrongly to the conclusion that he is a Superman. And why do I say this? The term Superman was created by Friedrich Nietzsche, referring to the man who creates his own value system, thanks to possessing a genuine will. To reach the Superman, there are 3 transformations of the spirit, which are narrated in the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, but we can also appreciate it in the evolution and development of the protagonist's character. The first transformation is the camel, and it is represented by the life of Jack that we see at the beginning. He is a man who carries a load, like a camel, only this one does it supposedly voluntarily, because he believes that it is a way to demonstrate his strength. The protagonist thinks that the unnecessary things he buys define him. His life is completely superficial. The burden he carries is that instead of doing what he wants, he does what he is supposed to do, as he himself mentions. Went to college. Got a good job. A department. It filled him with things, and yet he feels his life empty.
Working jobs we hate, so we can buy we don't need.
Jack bears this burden of believing that absurd consumerism is a form of self-realization. It is a burden that he clings to, thinking that it is his life and happiness, when in reality it is not.
Look, nobody takes this more seriously than me. That condo was my life.
The transformation of the camel is a fight between the I want against the I must, and with the camel, the I must win. The second transformation is the lion. According to Nietzsche's book, the lion is the embodiment of I want. As I said before, Tyler is Jack's destructive alter ego, the one in charge of ending the camel's load that prevented him from doing whatever he wants. According to Tyler, if we get rid of the superfluous, of the things that society has imposed on us, then we can find ourselves and be completely free, hit rock bottom. Tyler is the lion, but the destruction of values on his part leaves a moral void that he is unable to fill due to his own destructive nature. Tyler even destroys Marla's feelings. He proclaims himself as everything the protagonist wants to be: more handsome, more intelligent, have the girl he wants, and thinks that his debauchery disguised as freedom makes him better. Tyler combines his clothes in extravagant and even colorful shapes, but that finally give him a quite aesthetic, cool and rebellious style, while Jack dresses most of the time in monotonous clothes. The same white and gray shirts, ties, shoes and jacket, impeccable clothes that he wears because his work ordered him to, and that he even wears when he is away from it. Tyler slowly destroys Jack's responsibilities, destroys the dissatisfaction of hundreds and perhaps thousands of people through punches, creating fight clubs. The idea of destruction enters the narrator's mind so much that he breaks his own limits.
felt like destroying something beautiful.
The figure of Tyler is so dominant and overpowering that the narrator couldn't see his transformation coming to Tyler Durden.
You're just letting yourself become Tyler Durden.
The third and final phase is the child. The child's innocence represents a new beginning. If we are in front of a blank sheet of paper, we can say that we see nothing, or on the contrary, we can decide what to draw. The line destroys, but the child has the power to create whatever he wants. At the end of the film, the buildings collapse just like the values they represent, and the narrator leaves Tyler's figure behind because he is harmful. All destruction is both material and metaphorical, the only thing left is to build something new. Also at the beginning of the film, the narrator himself experienced to a lesser extent what would await him in the future, because in order to be reborn, you must first die.
Every evening I died, and every evening I was born again.
Jack is the true owner of his own reality. As it is well appreciated when the pistol goes from the hand of Taylor to his hand. The child embodies oblivion, leaves the past behind, is happy to live fully. Now that Jack is free, he can see what he really wants. Marla Singer. It is in the phase of the child where the man becomes Superman. The narrator establishes his own value system, he lives in consequence of his acts, and therefore now has a moral responsibility. We see this when he is horrified by the destructive acts of the Mayhem Project, when he gives himself as the author behind everything, and we see it when he confronts Tyler and defeats him. Unlike what one might think at first, the real Superman is Jack at the end of the movie. The problem with Tyler is that his moral vacuum reaches the point of believing that everything is allowed because he is a free man, since there is no one or nothing with authority to determine what is right or wrong, so he can do what he wants, his freedom becomes debauchery. What is also known as a negative or passive nihilism. His debauchery and anti-system thinking goes much further, clashing with political ideologies. As you may have deduced, the policy most in line with Tyler is anarchism, but it is a radical and totally immoral anarchism. Submitting dozens of people to achieve his goal. Tyler not only destroys moral values, but also does it materially, destroying the buildings of credit card companies for everyone to start from scratch. A way to end the established. Despite this, we can give Tyler credit for being a fundamental piece in the plot, because as said at the beginning of this analysis, Tyler is the one who gives a change to the life of the narrator. Thanks to psychology, it is known that the mind creates multiple personalities as a defense mechanism against the situation that the person experiences. It usually occurs with people who suffer from severe physical abuse or traumatic experiences. Although the protagonist never told that he has suffered something so intense, he had been experiencing a spiritual decline. Tyler has not appeared suddenly, it has progressively appeared multiple times before both personalities officially meet. Tyler appears for milliseconds when Jack visits the doctor, when he is in group therapy, in Jack's office, on the street after therapy. All of these subliminal appearances are only a hint that Tyler is part of his mind, but perhaps also that Tyler's personality is being born, and without his appearance, Jack may never have managed to live fully. Tyler believes and convinces his close environment that hitting each other without a purpose beyond the action of fighting is not only a way to destroy the dissatisfaction of life, but also a way of liberation from the everyday, from what it is established. Why would someone want to fight just to fight? Why get together every week to get hurt from a fight? It is something that the average person is afraid of, it is something that they would not understand. So Tyler's first rule is, do not talk about Fight Club. That's all for today. If you liked it, don't forget to visit the channel and subscribe to support this content. Thank you very much for watch.